So, I actually recorded this video several months ago and I didn't upload it because I thought people would be mad at me. But I'm gonna do it anyway now because I don't have anything else to upload. So, here's a series of videos where I bite the hand that feeds me. Alright, here it goes.
So, you want me to talk about the red and black pill? Okay, well, you probably don't, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So, this is the type of video that's gonna make a lot of people really, really mad. I'm talking about that big, big mad, okay? And this is the type of video that's gonna get people to be kind of, yeah, okay. And some people to be all like, yeah, okay. But it's gotta be done. There's gotta be someone, there's gotta be some voice out there that says, guys, bring it in. I think we need to reevaluate what we've been talking about now for the past couple years, okay? So, where should I start with this video? Let's start off with this. I don't really co-sign with the red pill moniker, and I don't really co-sign with the black pill moniker. I'm not a MGTOW, and I'm not an incel. But I do find a lot of truth and value in a lot of these different ideologies. Quite a bit. Now, red pill moniker has the umbrella of like MGTOW, but you've got the pickup artists in there, and then you've got like the dating coaches. I guess you can slide in there, and you've got like the alpha dudes. I don't know if those are like pickup artists or if they're like dating coaches or they're like somewhere in between there, but I don't know. You've got all that. You've got a huge moniker of this philosophy because this philosophy of the red pill can really be applied in numerous different ways. Now, the philosophy of the black pill, not so much, but we'll get into that in just a second. Now, the reason why I'm making this overview video is because I'm going to break down each ideology and my contentions with them in their own separate videos, of course, but I think that a good general overview of like what's similar about them and like my overall, I wouldn't call it a disdain but disagreement with them, might be as a good starting point. So let's start off with this. I know I'm going to be called a simp. I'm going to wear that moniker right here on my chest. You can call me Simp Man. Okay? Because I have to say this. And I know it's going to seem really strange for me saying this, but it's got to be done. And that is, I don't dislike women. In fact, I actually like women a lot. I really do like women, man. Like, I like the way women look. I like the way women talk. Some of them. Like I don't like obnoxious white women. Like, you guys know what an obnoxious white woman sounds like. No, I hate that. But, like, I like the way, like, women sound. Like, I like their voices. I like women's presence. I like women quite a bit, Now, it's no secret, if you see my video catalog, I harshly criticize women because some of them are just downright evil people and should be called out. Some of them are, and I think most of them, really, are just kind of foolish. And some of them are just stupid. Like, it's just, it just be that way. There's not everyone who's a human can be incredibly intelligent. Some of them are just dumb. So, with the understanding that I actually don't hate women, I really like women quite a bit. A lot of my criticisms and commentary mostly comes from a point of view of where I want women to be protected and kind of make better decisions, not just for themselves, but for their children's lives as well, and for the men that they're dating too. It's kind of like a spillover effect for everyone, but the criticism is mostly focused on women. Now, some people might ask, well, why do you mostly focus on your criticism of women when there are a whole bunch of awful men as well? Well, I've said this for years on my channel, but I just don't really feel like I need to criticize men's behavior because, like, all of society already does that. So, like, I mean, the whole of my life experience has just been men being constantly criticized. So, just don't feel like I need to do that. On the other hand, women can do pretty heinous stuff and people will run to defend them despite the fact that they're heinous. So I want you guys to understand that my motivations are not ones created of disdain or mistrust or hatred of women. I am a misogynist. And I also want people to understand that I'm not implying that people who ascribe to the red pill or the black pill are misogynists themselves either. But there is something that needs to be highlighted about both of these ideologies when it comes to women. And that is the fact that it is incredibly unfair. It is just not a fair representation of women's mentality or psyche or anything. I mean, it's a good piece of the puzzle, but it's just not the whole thing. It's really, really not fair. So, with that preamble out the way and you guys now understanding my simpery, let's actually start discussing these philosophies, right? Let's start with the red pill, right? So, what is the red pill? In layman's terms, the red pill is more or less a realistic view of women's behaviors in a sexual marketplace. It might be one of the best, the most concise ways to summarize the red pill. There's a couple of tenets that are really important in like red pill philosophy. That is the fact that the way you look, the money you have, and the status you accrue are all the three most important aspects that are attracting women to you. And they pretty much got your sexual marketplace value. Excuse me, the sexual marketplace being, well, it's just a metaphor or just like a terminology for like sexual relationships between males and females, basically. Now, of course, this doesn't really address homosexuals and transsexuals, and it's not supposed to. So if you want to talk about that, go. Bye. See you later. We're not discussing that here. So, the red pill philosophy is primarily focused on women's hypergamous nature. Or at least there's a lot of focus, or there was a lot of focus, on early MGTOW discussions on the internet. And that is because women are so hypergamous and they lack the ability to really control their instinct, a lot of women kind of will monkey branch between different dudes for their resources. So the most important thing to a lot of women between their male-female relationships is just the resources that they can accrue from them. And that marriage is just a system used in order to entrap men in these awful leech-like or parasitic relationships between women, where the woman is the parasite and the male is the host of her absorbing these resources before she'll leave and go off to someone else. Now, of course, there's a great amount of truth into that. There should be like no ambiguity here. There's no debate. There are some women who are definitely nefarious, and there are some women who are definitely parasitic, and they will absolutely 100% do that. There are women who are liars, women who are deceitful, women who will use men like objects and tools and just take their stuff and leave. There's no way around the fact that evil is a force in the world, and you can find it in women in their particular ways. Now, where exactly does the issue lie here? Well, one of the issues, at least when it comes to like the red pill, is the fact that the discussion of hypergamy is kind of a little too logical. The best way I've always articulated it or thought to it to myself is that like a lot of the discussions of hypergamy in women, which by the way, hypergamy is the woman's desire to get the best possible male in any given environment or population. I think it's kind of one of the best distinct ways to explain it. Whereas the metrics of which the best possible male is based on his looks, his money, and his status. Sometimes his looks can be irrelevant as long as he has status and money, but you know. So a woman's hypergamous instinct will make her go for that guy at the top of the totem pole, right? Now, the problem here is that is an incredibly logic-based interpretation of hypergamy. And women don't think logically. I'm not saying they lack the capacity to. In fact, some of them who are nefarious certainly do it very well. I'm just saying, usually, their decision-making skills are not baked in a logical a squared plus b squared equals c squared type of layout, but it's based on how does this make me feel in this particular time, or how does this make me feel about me. And so hypergamy is an interesting piece of the puzzle, but it doesn't really account for a lot of the dumbass decisions a lot of women are making, because when you start applying this metric of hypergamy onto females, you'll notice it doesn't match with a large majority of them, especially not younger women. And I'll go into detail more in my overview of the red pill in the future. So, and I'll have to talk about hypergamy itself in the future as well, just like in its own little diatribe. Moving forward, let's talk about the black pill for a second. Now, the black pill is like an offshoot of the red pill type of philosophy. It's still a philosophy that's primarily focused on the truth of female behavior, or the truth of how women operate in the sexual marketplace, but it takes one element of the red pill one step further. I say one element, but kind of two. It's nihilistic approach, and also it's the trait that is most important to females. Whereas in the red pill type of philosophy, you have a trifecta: looks, money, status. In a black pill type of mentality, it's only looks. And looks are so powerful that women can even give reckless abandon to their own moral codes and principles, or the moral codes and principles of a society, just so they can get with the mythical Chad. Now, the truth of the matter is, this does happen quite a bit. In fact, you'll notice about the red and the black pill philosophies is that I don't really think that they're kind of wrong, like, at all. I just think they're kind of wrong, like, in its scope or its general application of females. I don't really think that encapsulates the whole picture, because there's a lot of stuff that just isn't discussed in these circles when it comes to, like, how women operate. Now, again, I'm not going to dispute the fact that there are certainly quite a few women, usually Americans, who are primarily concerned with looks and are so promiscuous that just in order to have one good night with an incredibly beautiful Chad, that they give reckless abandon and they just do whatever they need to do to get there. Now, I think there's a bit of an explanation for that I'll go into detail later, and I'd love to go into it, but it's not really important here in this video. What I think is important is, again, it's not the whole bloody picture when it comes to female mate selection, like, in general. And in fact, that's not, I mean, like I said, I'll just kind of have to go into detail about it later. It's not wrong in the sense that looks are very important, and I would dare say are probably some of the most important elements when it comes to attracting people. But it is wrong in the belief that looks are the most important thing when it comes to, like, having a relationship. And again, like I say, I know I'm just scratching the surface here, but, like, there's a lot to be said. I don't want this video to go on forever. But mostly, in order to summarize my explanations here, my friends, as to why I don't co-sign with these ideologies fully, it is mostly, if you've been listening, because their scope is just too far of a net. Now, MGTOW will probably riddle this video with one simple fact, that they don't hate women. I say one simple fact, but it's probably a lot. That they don't hate women. I know. But a lot of them will then defend their choices of not interacting with women or not dating women by saying that even if all women aren't in this particular nefarious point of view, that because women have the power and ability to do X, Y, Z, you should not interact with them. And of course, that makes a great degree of sense in a very individualistic type of mentality, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense in, like, a practical type of mentality. And what I mean by that is practical in terms of society functioning and moving forward. This would be another reason why I'm not a fan of this type of ideology, because it becomes, or it can become, very nihilistic. From some of the MGTOW point of view, that a lot of them think that they should just let society crumble and fall. And this thing, Black Pill too, is even more nihilistic than that. They think that they should just take their own lives and just take themselves out of just that whole life equation in general. I'm not very nihilistic as a person. And in fact, I'm quite optimistic, despite the fact that I fail regularly a lot. It's kind of weird how that works, but I am, and I kind of have to be to keep going. So I don't give in to these types of, like, thoughts or these types of belief systems just on that fact alone. It's just too nihilistic. If you guys disagree with me, which I'm sure that you will, by all means, go ahead and unsubscribe. I apologize for wasting your time here. Moving forward, so again, just the nihilism is just not really for me. But the scope also just isn't a fair representation of women in general. The red pill philosophy does not at all address insecure women. It does not at all address low self-esteem women. One of the biggest issues I find with red pill philosophy in general is the fact that it only seems to primarily concern itself with physically attractive women. And at least the black pill kind of, like, sprinkles in the fact that there are some unattractive women. But again, the focus is mainly on just attractive women. Of course, within the scope of just being an attractive woman, like, there's a lot of mental issues and insecurities you can deal with that can prevent you from even taking advantage of how attractive you are just in the first place. But also the fact that we're not even discussing all of the strange scene kid girls who dye their hair purple and green and whatever. We're not even focusing on the fatties, on the nerds, on just the downright strange looking females. You know what I mean? Like, like, where do they fit in this whole like hypergamy thing? Like, I mean, are they equally as hypergamous? I mean, do women even have the capacity to overcome their instincts? In fact, one of the things that makes a human is the fact that we have a neocortex that allows us to override these so-called instincts that we have. It seems another thing that I'll go into detail about later in that video is that there doesn't really seem to be much onus on the responsibility that women have to be moral agents, but in accepting that they don't even have the capacity to be moral agents and to leave them to their own devices, or that they're just kind of downright stupid or just like inept. And I just can't co-sign with that. And again, I'll go into detail later, but you know, I just don't. I think higher of women than that. Not all of them, but like some of them at the very least. So again, I reiterate, I completely understand some of the MGTOW type of ideology, so far as that as long as women have the capacity to divorce men and take half of their resources, then like you shouldn't enter into any marital contract with them or any contract in general, because you know, if you get pregnant, you can get hooked on child support. That's true. And it's something I want to address in like future videos as well, because I mean, it's the same reasoning that would explain if you don't want to get into a car accident, you should never get into a car, because every time you drive on the highway or any street in general with another vehicle, actually, even if you just drive in your own vehicle, you're putting yourself at danger. Like, it kind of necessitates that there's indeed a danger, but the difference being with like a car and mechanics and like a relationship is the fact that there's another human element in there. And if a woman is honorable and reasonable, at least to some capacity, you know, getting divorced and having half of your stuff taken away just like wouldn't be a thing, even if she has the capacity to do so, in the same way that most people don't avoid any type of like transportation because you can get into an accident and die. Now, maybe there are some people that do, but most people don't. So the rationality is the same and the argument is the same. Like, yeah, like there's a danger to it, but it's something that's got to be done. Like, maybe you don't have to do it, you know, because like you don't care about society, but like someone has to do it. And the reason why someone has to do it, to be frank, is because children are innocent and they didn't do anything wrong. And so them being born into dysfunctional families with people that don't care about them isn't fair to them as people. I guess we can argue about, you know, fair and all that in the comment sections, but like my primary concern is more for the kids who haven't done anything wrong and just have to suffer from the actions of their mothers and their fathers, right? So, and as far as the black pill goes, we'll get into that in its own video. So the next video is going to be me talking primarily about all of the different discrepancies and issues I find with red pill ideologies. Not only just going from MGTOW, but we'll talk about pickup artists, we'll talk about marriage, we'll talk about just pretty much everything that I just don't co-sign with. But the conclusion being is that I don't co-sign with either one of these ideologies because, one, they have a mostly unfair look at just female psychology just in general. It's just not fair and it's just not accurate. There's a lot of truth to it, but the scope is just way too big, and it's a little unreasonable for a lot of reasons that I'll go into detail later. But also, they're both incredibly nihilistic, and I'll go into detail about them, at least from the MGTOW point of view. Actually, just in general, it's pretty downer-esque. It's pretty downer-esque. I'll go into detail in those videos that are coming out, which are probably going to be a lot longer than this one. So, with that being said, I certainly hope you guys didn't get too upset with me in this video. And if you didn't, man, you know, go and click the like button. Yes, shoot, go and click that comment box below. Follow me on Twitch at BASSFZz. No, it's twitch.tv/BASSFZz. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.